Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye. Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita Mritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marudaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yoginaha Yasyantanna Vidusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. In discussing Karma Yoga, put in a simple way, Karma Yoga can be explained as doing what is right in a given situation, whether I like it or not. One choice is what I like, other choice can be what is right. If what I like is what is right, most wonderful. Like this man loved bitter gourd, but his wife did not like it. So she knew used to cook Kerala. And then the doctor declared that he has diabetes, and every day he should eat Kerala. So sometimes what you like becomes what is right, in which case there is harmony and happiness. If there is a conflict between what is right and what I like, then there is disharmony, unhappiness. So what is the reason? In most cases we know what is right in a given situation. In case we do not know, we always have the freedom to consult some knowledgeable or wise person to understand what is right in a given situation. But in spite of my knowing what is right, there are times when there is something within myself an impulse within myself that seems to prevail upon me, overpower me, and compel me to do what is not right. Compel me to do what I like rather than what is right. Like in spite of having diabetes, the Swami is invited for lunch. Swamiji, this Rasgulla I have made myself. You must eat at least one. It's a wrong thing. I like it, but it's not right. And often I put the Rasgulla in my mouth. There is some impulse within me which seems to compel me to do what is not right for me, even though I know. So Arjuna at this point asks a question of Lord Krishna. Asakena prayuktoyam papam chardi purushaha anichchand vivarshanaya baladiva niyojitaha. What is it that compels a person to violate the values, violate what is right? That's called papa. Papa means performing an action which is in violation to the prevailing order. There is a moral order that governs the universe. If my actions are in keeping that moral order, then I am doing what is right. But often, there is an impulse within me, anichchand, even though I do not want to violate the order, something within me compels me to act in violation to the order. In spite of my knowing that what I am doing is wrong, that impulse compels me to do that. And that is what comes in the way of my doing what is right. So Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, what is it that compels a person to do what is not right, do what is wrong? Even when the person knows what is right, still there is something that compels him to do what is wrong. What is it? The Lord Krishna replies in the last page, page number 6, verse 37. There you are. Lord Krishna replies Arjuna's question in this verse. What is it that compels a person to violate the order, violate the value? So this is what Lord Krishna says. Let me read, you please repeat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyena Miha Vairinam. The last quarter says Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. Know this to be the enemy here in this world. Here Arjuna, know this one to be enemy. The inner enemy. Arjuna has to confront now two kinds of enemies. One are the enemies that are outside. Duryodhana and his whole army is enemy, which Arjuna has to confront. But before he confronts that enemy, it is desirable that he first confronts and conquers the enemy within himself, an external enemy and an inner enemy. The inner enemy that compels me to go against my values. Then it becomes difficult to conquer the outer enemy when we are overpowered by the inner enemy. More than 100 years ago, Mahatma Gandhi, when he came to India from South Africa, he said, the reason why Indians are slaves of the British is because they are the slaves of their own mind. We are slaves of this inner enemy, and that is how we become vulnerable to be conquered by the outer enemy. Lord Krishna identifies that enemy. And there says, Kameshaha, Krodeshaha. Kamaha, translation is desire. Krodha, translation is anger. The word kama should be translated, understood not merely a desire. If there is a desire in my mind, which I can shake off, if I recognize that this is not a desirable desire, and I am able to overcome that desire, then that desire is not a big problem. But if the desire overcomes me, then that becomes a problem. So kama is desire or craving. When I lose control. In the second chapter, Lord Krishna describes this process. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu vajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kama means craving, it's a build-up. First you think fondly of an object. You think of an object, then fondness for that object arises. And that fondness builds up into a desire for that object. And that desire may build up into a craving for the object. And when that craving is not satisfied, then that craving transforms itself into anger. Kamaha, krodha. Kama eshaha, krodha eshaha, this verse says, what is kama, what is craving at this time, transforms itself into krodha or anger. So anger always has a reason for it being to be there. And here Lord Krishna explains, what's the reason for anger? Kama, a craving or a strong desire or a strong demand is the reason for the anger. When that strong desire is not satisfied, when the desire is frustrated, that frustration results into anger. Kameshaha, Krodeshaha, Rajoguna Samudbhavaha. It is born of Rajoguna and it gives rise to Rajoguna or activity. That craving transforms itself into anger, and anger cannot be contained within myself. That anger compels me to do something. That anger wants to express itself. Anger creates like a storm within myself. And that's how it compels me to do something. That anger wants to express itself through action. If I am alert and strong enough to contain that anger within myself, in the 5th chapter, Lord Krishna says, that one who is able to contain the force of anger within oneself, he is a yogi. The anger arises within myself, that kama, the lust arises, anger arises, greed arises. They arise and they create an inner pressure or a force. As long as we can contain that force within ourselves, so long we are safe, even though inside there is a storm, but at least that does not express as a violent action. If allowed to express, the anger will invariably result into a violent action. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava, Mahashano, Mahapapma, Maha-ashanaha, the one whose ashanaha, whose hunger has no end. The translation is like a glutton, who is never not satisfied with any amount of food. Later on, this is compared to fire, analaha. Fire is never satisfied with any amount of food that you give to fire. More fuel you add to fire, more oblation you add to fire, fire becomes more and more demanding. So Lord Krishna compares anger with fire. And you act out of anger and you think that the anger is gone, doesn't go. Is only seeking another opportunity to again take control of me. So this kama, the craving, krodha, anger, mahashana is like a glutton whose appetite has no end, meaning that don't think that the kama or the desire will be satisfied. We satisfy the desire, it gives rise to another desire. You act out of anger, it only seeks an opportunity again to take hold of you. Mahapapma, a great sinner, Lord Krishna says, the anger is a great sinner. Because any action performed out of anger is going to be a violent action. It will hurt the person upon whom my anger is expressed, and it will also hurt the person who becomes controlled by anger. Like fire, like matchstick. The matchstick has to burn first before it can burn something else. Anger is like fire. It will burn my heart first before it burns the object of anger. So meaning that it is harmful in every way. Mahashano, Mahapapma. Whatever papa or the sins are committed, whatever violence is committed in the universe, can be traced to this kama, krodha and lobha. Add one more. Kama is this craving or passion or lust. Krodha is anger and lobha is greed. Any violence anywhere in the world, in our own life and anywhere also, can be traced to any one of these three. The lust means violating the rights of the other people. Anger results into violence, and greed results into exploitation. That is also violence. So kama, krodha, all the corruption is a result of greed. All violence is a result of anger. And all violation of rights is all because of the kama or the lust. That's all. What else is there in the universe which is the problem? This is the problem. The humankind has this problem of kama, krodha and lobha. Understand that There is no kama, krodha, lobha in any creature other than human being. There is lust only seasonal as far as other creatures are concerned. Human being is no season. Anger, the animals don't get angry. There is no greed. They don't conserve food, they don't store things, for future. They live in the present. So this kama, krodha, lobha is the unique characteristics of human being. You can say that. That's the price that we are paying for being evolved creatures. And this is the enemy that we have to deal with and conquer. Tomorrow in the retreat, this is the topic also. Conquering inner enemies. Further, Lord Krishna explained, our mind is composed of three kinds of dispositions. In Vedanta, or in Bhagavad Gita, the disposition are called Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Our mind can be understood as made of or composed of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. What are the characteristics of these three dispositions, or guna they are called? When the mind is tamasic, overcome by tamas, there is inertia, dullness, lack of motivation, even ignorance. Tamas. Rajas. When mind is overcome by rajas, then there is restlessness, aggressiveness, activity, greed. And when the mind enjoys sattva, there is calmness, tranquility, balance, happiness. A mind that enjoys a sattva is a happy mind. Therefore, all these spiritual practices or sadhanas, the first goal is to transform the mind into sattvic mind. People talk about getting rid of ego. But ego also has these three levels: tamasic ego, rajasic ego, sattvic ego. Tamasic ego doesn't do anything, is inert, no initiative, no activity, dullness. Rajasic ego is aggressive ego. So usually when they use the word ego, generally they mean ego which is rajasic ego. And what do you mean by giving up? You cannot give up ego. What you need to do is to transform this rajasic or ego into sattvic ego. That is the purpose of karma yoga. What does rajas do? When there is predominance of rajas in my mind, there is this greed, self-centeredness, selfishness is the characteristic of rajas. And most human beings are predominant in rajas, and therefore most human beings are self-centered beings. We are mostly self-centered. My interest comes first. Even that also is all right, but then sometimes that selfishness goes to a point when in satisfying my interest, I even don't mind compromising your interest. So that is when this rajas becomes harmful to others and to one's own self. Therefore, What Lord Krishna teaches is how to transform our mind from rajas to sattva. And that is the idea of karma yoga. A karma yogi still has ego, because karma yogi also performs action. He is not free from ego, but karma yogi is a person who is committed to transforming ego from rajas to sattva. That's why Lord Krishna says, as we discussed yesterday also, perform actions as a contributor, as a giver. A consumer is a person overcome by rajas. A contributor is one who is a sattvic person. So I deliberately perform actions instead of contributor. So slowly I transform my mind from rajas to sattva. So main sadhana is to transform our mind and ego into sattvic mind. Then knowledge becomes not too far from there. So we are so stuck up with this knowledge, stuck up with Deha. Swami, how to overcome this Dehatma Buddhi, how to overcome my identity. Don't bother about any identification. Just work for transforming mind into sattvic mind. That's all. The rajasic mind is the one that is strongly identified. As we make our mind sattvic, automatically that identification becomes loose. We progressively overcome the identification with our body, etc. And so important thing and most important thing is to transform the mind with sattvic mind. Then Shravanam, Mananam, listening to scriptures, reflecting upon them, all of these become most effective when the mind enjoys sattva. That does not mean that I have to wait until mind becomes sattvic. Swami, you told me, so I will come next year now. When my body is fine, then I will listen. Not so. We subject ourselves to be exposed to the teaching, because that also is the means of transforming the mind. So, kamesha, krodesha, rajoguna samudbhava. The rajoguna, the predominant rajoguna in my mind manifests as kama, as lust, krodha, as anger, lobha, as greed. So Lord Krishna in the next verse tells us, where is this kama, where is this krodha, where is this fellow located? See, Arjuna is a warrior. A warrior wants to know what is the hideout of the enemy. Because Lord Krishna described Vidyena, know this anger, greed, lust as enemy. So Arjuna wants to know where is the enemy hiding so that I can then take care of the enemy. So next verse that we have shows where this kama, krodha, lobha, where are they in our personality. So let us read that verse. Indriyani mano buddhi asyadhishthanam uchyate etair vimohayatyeshah jnanamavritya dehinam. The second line says, Etahi vimohayati eshaha dehinam. This kama, krodha, lobha deludes this individual, deludes the person, deludes you and I by jnanam avrutya, by veiling our jnanam, veiling our knowledge, meaning veiling our wisdom. Even if we have the wisdom, we have the knowledge, we have the understanding, we have the wisdom, But when anger arises in my mind, kama, lust, anger or greed, any one of these forces, they take over my mind. At that time, my wisdom is of no use to me. We find sometimes very wise people, intelligent people, good people. For whatever reason, if they get overcome by anger, at that time, no goodness, no wisdom seems to help them. Because anger, the kama, krodha, lobha, it weighs that wisdom. All my culture seems to be relegated to the background. My culture, my values, my wisdom, my goodness, which I have. But if I allow my mind to be overcome by anger, then all of those things become of no use to me. Jnanam avritya dehinam vimohayati. And what it does is, when a person gets angry, what is wrong appears right, what is moha? Seeing what is not there and not seeing what is there. What is right appears wrong, what is wrong appears right. For an angry person, the innocent person appears to be guilty, and guilty one is seen as innocent. This is an example. How an anger or greed or lust arises and takes over our mind. Our perception becomes distorted, we do not see the reality as it is, and we project something else in our mind. So we are reacting to something that is not there. I did not do that. I beat up the child, beat up somebody. I did not do it. But that time, this is what my mind sees. It just sees, you are responsible, you have done this. So Lord Krishna says, this kama, this krodha, this lobha, indriyani, it resides in my sense organs, manaha resides in my mind, buddhi resides in my intellect. It influences all of them. At the level of senses, it creates in me the craving that I want to consume something, I want to enjoy something, I want to experience something. In the mind also, further craving, and the intellect justifies what my craving is. Even though in the right time, when I am in the right mind, I know what is right and what is wrong. But when I am overcome with anger, etc., at that time, my mind itself justifies what is wrong as right. That's called buddhi. Buddhi means reasoning faculty. This anger, this greed, this lust, they affect the reasoning faculty. They dilute the reasoning faculty, and intellect or reasoning faculty sees as wrong what is right and sees as right what is wrong. So, the intellect decides and the mind acts. So, mind acts to all sense organs. So, intellect decides what is wrong is right, mind accepts what is wrong is right, and action is performed to the sense organs. So, this is how a person is controlled by these inner enemies. So, Lord Krishna says that may you conquer this enemy by conquering these three levels of sense organs, mind and intellect. So last verse says, Indriyani paranyahu Indriyebhyah param manaha Manasastu para buddhi Yo buddhev paratastu saha. So Lord Krishna here teaches how to create distance from identification. First create distance with the things outside your body. Recognize that you are the body and you are not anything outside the body. This money I am not, this wealth I am not, this possession I am not, this family I am not, this I am not, I am different from them. That's easy, of course, but that's also not easy. Sometimes we get overcome by passion and those things become so important to us. So, first recognition that what is outside the body is not you. That's easy, Swami. The next, step back further and recognize that the body all. So, what is not I? A simple rule is that the seer is different from the seen, the knower is different from the known. So, all of you are right now objects of knowledge to me, and I am the knower different from you. You can say that you see me, you are the seer you is different from the one that is seen. Simple rule. But we forget that rule. Please tell me whether this body is seer or seen. Meaning that, am I aware of the body? Is body I or an object of knowledge of I? Usually I identify with the body. But when I pay attention, then I realize that I am aware of the body, I am aware of my hands. The awarer is different from the object of awareness. I am aware of my hands, therefore I am different from hands. Aware of my legs, I am different from legs. Aware of the head, all the limbs I am different, I am aware of them, so I am different from all the organs and limbs of the body. So his first step is to recognize that I am different from the body. Indriyani parani ahu, Lord Krishna says that you identify the indriya sense organs, recognize that the body is different from you, are different from the body. Body is the dwelling place, you are the indweller. Next, recognize that even sense organs I am not. Right now, I am seeing you through my eyes. You listen to this word through your ears. Can I say that I am the eyes? Because eyes are instrument with which I see, I perform act of seeing. Is it not so? The ears are the instruments through which you perform the act of hearing. You are right now writing your note, let us say, notes, with a pen. With a pen, you perform the act of writing. Then, the pen is the instrument through which you perform the act of writing, and you, the writer, is different from the pen. Is it not so? Writing with the help of pen. You are the writer. It is not that the writer is different from the instrument with which he or she writes. Similarly, I see you with my eyes. With my eyes, I perform the act of seeing. What are the eyes? They are the instrument with which I perform the act of seeing. Is it not that the eye, the seer, should I not be different from the eyes with which I see? Or you are right now listening to these words. Through your faculty of hearing, you are listening to these words. Is it not clear that you are not the faculty of hearing, you are the hearer? The example that is normally given is like a carpenter. With tools he performs function. Is it not that a carpenter is different from his tools? And so these organs of perception, organs of action are all like tools with which I perform various actions. I, the performer action, is different from them. So first, I recognize that I am not the body because I am the seer of the body. Second, I recognize that the sense organs I am not because they are instruments with which I perform various actions of perception and actions. Then who am I? Am I the mind? Mind is the faculty of thinking? That's the faculty which I think. I'm a thinker, and mind is the faculty which I think. So thinker is different from mind, which is the faculty of thinking. Who am I? Am I the knower? Well, the intellect is the faculty of knowing with which I know I am even different from the intellect. If you remember, Lord Krishna said, the sense organs, mind, intellect, these are the dwelling places for this anger, kama, krodha, lobha. So here Lord Krishna teaches us the method of how to overcome. Recognize that sense organs you are not, mind you are not, intellect you are not. And who are you? One that is the seer of all of this, illuminated of all of this. You are the self, the very consciousness that you are. Yo buddhe paratastu saha, the one who is even aware of the intellect, who is aware of the body, aware of sense organs, aware of mind, aware of intellect, is the aware different from, so I am different from all of this. Who am I? I am a simple consciousness. Who are you? Consciousness. When I recognize that, then I recognize that I am not the body, not sense organs, not the mind, not the intellect. I am the one that illumines all of these. Knower of these, illuminated, the consciousness. Lord Krishna concludes this chapter by this upadesha or by this teaching. Here Arjuna, recognize who you are. In that case, you conquer the enemy. The final way of conquering the enemy of kama, krodha, to recognize that you are conscious, you are illuminator of all of them. And one who has conquered this enemy in this manner conquers the whole world. So Lord Krishna concludes this chapter of Karma Yoga with also Jnana or the knowledge. Hey Arjuna, you are the self, you are the consciousness, you are the boundless, limitless consciousness that you are. And where boundlessness is there, limitlessness is there, there is no sorrow because all sorrow is in limitation. You are free from sorrow, you are of the nature of happiness, ananda. So Lord Krishna says, you are Satchit Ananda. May you know this, and that's how gain a total fulfillment in your life. So this is how, with the instruction of the knowledge of a self, the third chapter concludes. And just briefly, we discussed the last verses of this chapter, how we begin with the mind, and by recognize that you are different from your mind, you are illuminated of the mind, your illumination, your consciousness, you gain a total freedom from everything, because freedom is our nature. It's owning up the nature that we are. And that's what Bhagavad Gita, that's what Vedanta teaches. And that is the true fulfillment of life or true success in life. So this is the concept of success that Bhagavad Gita teaches. And that is the true nature of success. Even though in the world we may think that being wealthy or famous, etc. is mark of success, the true success is this: when you are totally happy and contented, totally free, independent. Independent from anything for being happy and free, and that is the self that you are. And with that teaching, the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita concludes. With that, we are concluding the discussion on the third chapter. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.